Welcome back to Intoxicating Kitchen. I am Brian and I'm going to show you how to make some omelets. I have 4 of them on tap. First thing we got to do, we cut up this bacon, but this knife, it's a little bit dull. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to try to sharpen it up a little bit. It's like a steel, so you just use the back side of a plate. As long as it's like a china type plate, you can just run the knife over that back and forth, just like a steel. And it actually demagnetizes and sharpens that blade for you. So you just do that a couple of times. Yep, and we're good to go. So now I'm gonna open this bacon, get it out of the package. See how sharp that is now? I'm gonna cut it before. I'm gonna grab a few pieces of this because I need a few pieces. Turn my gas on here. Put it on about medium. And I'm going to just cut these into smaller pieces. Alright, those are cut up. Alright, now we're going to we're going to throw them in the pan. The pan's starting to heat up a little bit. And we really don't need any oil or anything in it because the fat from the bacon is going to reduce down and it's going to coat the bottom of that pan. I just have to stir it a little bit here and there. Alright, so we got our bacon frying up. It's nice and loose. It's that bacon grease has really done a great job keeping it nice and lubricated. So I'm going to turn that down a bit. And always make sure your pan's like right in the middle of your burner so that it evenly cooks it. So I'm going to use some ham. I don't need a whole lot, so I'm just going to cut a little slice off here. And I'm going to cut up the ham. I like this thicker stuff for this. You can use deli meats. That's perfectly acceptable. However, whatever you have in the kitchen really is how it works really well. We're just going to cut this down. Then I'm going to put it into the dish. That's more than enough. Bacon's just about done. Turn it down a little more. Okay, the bacon's all done. I'm taking it out of this pan here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna keep this bacon grease, and that's what I'm gonna cook my omelet in. I'm gonna turn this off for a minute. We're gonna do onions in a second here. Be right back with you. We're gonna cut the onion. I'm gonna show you how I cut an onion. Not everybody cuts it all the same, but I'm gonna show you how I do it. Roll it. After I cut that, try to get as much off as possible. Same with the other side. Then you can just cut along it on both sides. Makes it easier for you to get it off. Because you know the first layer isn't anything. It really it's good to just take it off. It can be a little bit bitter, so you take that one off and you'll be okay. Get this stuff off my hands. Now we find the root end, cut it in half, half an onion. Now when I do it, I take the root end, because I'm right-handed, I put it on the left-hand side, and I cut in at an angle. Not all the way through the root, because the root's basically holding it together for you, so you go 3/4 or so into it. And then, after I get through that, I cut into it. Usually it depends on the size, 2 or 3 times. And then just make sure you roll it on your hand. So the knife has to be up against your fingers, but make sure your fingers are arched so that it rolls with it. I'm not cutting my fingers because the blade is actually just barely touching my fingers. And that's how you cut anything really. Is just any kind of vegetable or whatever you're cutting into pieces. That's the easiest way to cut it. Try not to do that because it makes your knife actually wobbly. That's good for like if you're boning, taking something off a bone or something, that's fine. But when you're trying to cut like this, dicing or slicing or whatever you're doing, you're best off not putting your finger up there. Alright, so there's the onions. I'm gonna do eggs in a minute here. I'm gonna show you how I put them together. Okay, so here I'm going to show you how to make the omelet. So we have a couple of different types of eggs. So we have some brown eggs and the white egg. So this is from a smaller chicken. See, this chickens weigh about a pound, maybe a pound and a half, 2 pounds. So this is Fluffy. This is one of our chickens. These eggs actually came out of my backyard. These are our chickens. And this is Fluffy. She's just called a bantam chicken, or we call them a little just because they're like a quarter the size of the other ones. The other ones are between 4 and 8 pounds, somewhere around there. These ones get to about 2 pounds, and I have a couple that are smaller, which is one of these eggs is from one of the smaller ones. But that's how these guys, and she likes to talk. She actually likes attention. She's pretty friendly. She didn't like that too much, but she's generally pretty friendly. So that's how we're getting our eggs from. So, I'm going to go wash my hands because I've been petting the chicken. I'm going to turn my burner back on. I'm going to turn it on pretty low because I need to crack some eggs. So I'm going to crack these eggs. I'm going to use a few of the little ones. So we have 3 little chickens, or bantams, and we have 6 larger chickens, like this guy here. We have one of these, which is a white leghorn, and the other 2 are buff Orpingtons. A couple more in here. All right. Now, what I do is I add a little bit of milk. So when you ever you get milk or something like that out of the fridge, always take a whiff and make sure that it's still good. So I add probably a couple of tablespoons up to maybe a quarter of a cup, depends how many eggs I'm beating up. Mix this all up real good. And if it's real thick, then you can add a little bit more. Also, what I like to do is I like flavor. So this is where I put my salt and my pepper in to my eggs. My salt, a little bit of pepper, and I'm going to mix that up. Get that out of my way. Okay, so my pan's starting to heat up, so I'm going to start throwing some stuff in here. I got a little bit of onion. You don't need a lot, teaspoon or so. I'll let that cook up real good first. It's like a harder vegetable and I want to clarify it a little bit, so we're going to cook it down a little bit. When they're pretty much kind of clear, that's when you're going to use that. And then I'm going to add this ham in here in a second. Add a little bit of ham. The ham we cut up earlier. No, I don't have pigs to go and make ham and bacon. I do have chickens. I don't have that big of a house, so we don't live on a farm. It's just we really like our chickens. They're really like part of the family. All right, so it's good like it is. I'm going to add a couple, 2 to 3 ounces, maybe 4 ounces of the egg mix. And we want to mix it up a bit because we want all that flavor of all the vegetables and the ham to be in the same spot. Now I'm going to turn it up a little bit because I want that stuff to cook really good. going to let that cook for a minute. We're going to put our bacon right in it now. Just kind of spread it across the top. So there's still a little liquid in there, so what you can do is you can hold the pan to the side, start moving the liquid underneath, and it will cook right to it. This one here, easier for me to get to. Almost ready to turn over and flip. Now we can use a spatula. I'm not really good with a spatula, to be honest with you. I flip them. So I take it, and you gotta be quick enough to do this, and you gotta see how that rolls a little bit. I need that to roll really good because it's gotta come up and flip over. So, all right, so now that we got that flipped over, as soon as you flip it over, we're gonna add some cheese. This is just like a Mexican style cheese. You can use whatever cheese you want. The shredded cheese is the easiest. Just gonna move it around a little bit. Okay, once I get that on there, put that like that, back on that burner. And again, make sure it's in the middle. And then I add water. 4 spots. It steams up and melts that cheese real nice. This cheese back. So we're going to turn that up because we want that to, you can mix it up a little bit, but we want that to get incorporated real good, or to steam all up real good. So we turn it up because we want it to steam. So we want that to boil. That's why as soon as you flip the egg over, you need to put that cheese on there, because you can get it to melt quicker and easier. You can see it's starting to melt. Right there, it's starting to melt real good. It's just about ready to come out of there. That looks really good too. It looks delicious. We're going to turn that off. Take that, move it out of the way. Now we're going to take this omelet, we're going to fold it, lay it down, we're going to let it roll right on out. And that's your ham and cheese omelet. A Greek one, so I'm going to use spinach and feta and some tomato, and I have some olives, I have some basil. There's my spinach. I take the spinach and I make sure it's either cut or torn. I like it torn. I think it's a little easier on it. So we're going to just make that. So my pan, we'll get it heated up. Make sure it's in the center. What you don't realize is that whenever we do something, we switch to something else, we wash everything. I wash my hands probably 20 times while I'm doing these videos. It might be more. That's the best thing for cooking, is keeping things clean, because there's cross-contamination and that can really injure somebody, and we try to stay away from that. So we clean constantly while we're cooking. So this is bacon fat. So we keep our bacon fat, we keep it in this little jar. We're going to put a little bit in there. It's plenty. And I cook eggs a lot with it. You don't need it. You can use olive oil. You can use some butter. It's really nice to actually do it with olive oil and then a little bit of butter with it, which I will show on the next egg. I'm going to make that one a little bit different. So there, it's all good. It's all melted down. So we're going to turn that down a little bit. we're going to add some of the onion because we want to cook that up a little bit. Give that a little quick cook. Again, clarify that onion a little bit so it's clear. Put a little more in there, it's not quite enough. There we go. That should do it. Now I'm gonna throw a bit of this beautiful spinach here. Throw that in there. It just basically melts down. I got some basil here that I'm going to add a little bit. I got the olives and the tomatoes. The tomatoes will go in just a second. See how that spinach reduces down quite a bit. See it in the pan, see it up here. Throw a little of the tomato in there. Want to warm it up a tad. Want to warm up the olives a little bit. Those are Greek olives, because I think Greek food is better with Greek food. Got a little bit of basil. I'm going to just add a little pinch of basil in there. This is fresh. I just cut this a few minutes ago. Let that cook up a little bit. You see how the spinach is reduced down to very little. Back to the eggs. We're going to put, like I said, 2 to 4 ounces. Mix this up a little bit. Stuff incorporated nicely so it's pretty even on there. So another thing with the knives that I need to mention also is that when you wash the knife, you should wash it in warm water, not hot water. You shouldn't really put a chef's type knife into the dishwasher because the heat will actually dull the blade. You want to keep that blade as sharp as you possibly can when you're cutting stuff. So don't put it in a dishwasher. Always clean it by hand and use warmer water, not like baby bottled water, but warmer than that. It's better for your knife. It'll last a lot longer. Still a little sticky, sticking to the bottom, so we can't flip her yet. Still a little sticky, so she's gotta go there for a minute, cook up a little bit. Kind of a low temp, we can turn her up a hair. And as soon as we flip her over, we're gonna go and add that feta to it. We're gonna melt that down just like I showed you last time, and then we're gonna plate it up for you. Grab that, move it around a little bit, make sure it's not sticking anywhere. Still needs just a touch more heat. Warm that up. Then we're going to flip it over, just like that. Get in the pan, add our feta to it. Grab the water. Put the top on, let that thing steam up a bit, and watch that feta start to, make sure that feta starts to melt a bit, steams all up. It's really a nice little feature when you do it that way. Smooths it out, makes it nice and creamy. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to move that water around so it's a hot spot in the pan and the steam. So, because we want it to steam up. So that's really what it's there for. The feta takes a little bit to actually melt and steam up, so take that off now. It sticks for some reason to my pan. Move that out of the way. And it started to melt, and that's kind of what I was looking for. I don't want it to melt all the way. And I'm just going to roll it that way. And we're going to roll it. Come on, roll, 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 roll. There we are. Perfect. There you go. That there is a beautiful Greek omelet. We put a little more basil on top of that. And there you have it. This is part one of a two-part series. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell and leave your comments below. Thank you.